Mr. Chairman, let the inaugural convocation for the 21st President of Muskingum University now begin.
Well, good afternoon, and I know that got everyone's attention, but now please be seated. I'm Hal Burlingame. I'm really honored here to serve as the chair of Muskingum's Board of Trustees, and to welcome all of you to this inaugural convocation. It's really a great pleasure to greet each of you today, and we're delighted that we have 3 past presidents of the university here to celebrate with us. President Emerita, Dr. Ann C. Steele, and Dr. David Skeen, and Dr. Sam Speck. We're also proud to welcome to our campus our government leaders, the Honorable Bill Johnson, U.S. Congressman, the Honorable Troy Balderson, Ohio State Senator, the Honorable Brett Essex, Mayor of the Village of New Concord, the Honorable Jeff Tilton, Mayor of the City of Zanesville. And welcome to our delegates. We are honored to have Kathleen Young here representing the Office of Governor John Kasich, and Larissa Harper from the Chancellor's Office of the Ohio Department of Higher Education. We also are welcoming our fellow institutions of higher learning, learned societies, and leaders of many government, civic, and community organizations who indeed are our valued partners all across this area. And I'm pleased that Hal Smith, former president of Pikeville College and a former member of the Muskingum leadership team, could be here. It is wonderful that so many Muskingum alumni, our long magenta line, and so many family members, friends, and neighbors are here to join with our trustees, our faculty, our staff, and our students. Welcome to all of you. I should say for just a moment that over the course of this past week, our campus community has come together at a series of events to share our shared commitment to the university and to our students. We celebrated in community worship rhythms of the Spirit, faith, learning, and service. We celebrated our performing and visual arts with a musical production of Pippin, the senior arts show opening, and the student honors recital last night. We celebrated scholarship and achievement with the inaugural John Glenn Lecture in Earth and Planetary Sciences. And I just want to thank once again Dr. Bill Lovejoy, who with his late wife Martha established and endowed this wonderful lecture series for our students. Dr. Scott Parazinski, who was a friend and personal physician and crewmate of John Glenn's on his Space Shuttle Discovery mission. And Sam, a few of us were there to witness that great moment. He delivered a tremendous talk to begin this important new tradition here on our campus. And after his talk, Dr. Parazinski left immediately to travel over to Washington, D.C. for John Glenn's interment in the Arlington National Cemetery, which I'm sure you all know took place yesterday. Our student scholarship showcase followed Dr. Parazinski's lecture on Wednesday evening. It was a real great opportunity to talk with our students about their own research as they displayed their senior projects and presented the results of their work. And the week has been filled with many, many student activities across campus. We've also celebrated our students' athletic gifts through baseball and softball and lacrosse and tennis and the Muskie Track and Field Invitational. Each event represents a very important aspect of the vital and vibrant living and learning community that we're committed to creating for the Muskingum students. Tomorrow, we're going to end the week by celebrating community service. Students and other campus community members will spend the morning beautifying the new Concord pool if it's not freezing, and in the afternoon, they will host a community festival on campus. But today, this is the centerpiece of our week of celebration as we entrust the leadership of Muskingum University, its legacy, and its community to our 21st president, Dr. Susan Hasseler. Now I would ask you to join me in welcoming to the podium the Honorable Troy Balderson, Ohio State Senator for the 20th District and a member also of our long magenta line.
Thank you very much. I'm sure, Congressman, that's why I'm actually ahead for the very first time of a congressman in speaking order. So, having attended here at Muskingum College back in 1979, 1980. God bless those years, Mr. Haycock. It's really neat, and I'm here and I see people that I know, and the honor that it is for me to stand here and bring aboard this wonderful new president that we have here, Dr. Hasseler. We met and went over a couple things. I came out here for a meeting and she said, all right, Troy Balderson, here's what I want and what I need from you to do. Within 3 weeks, I had meetings in Columbus. We met with the Chancellor of Higher Ed, John Kerry. We met with the Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. We met with other people. They all came back and said, holy cow, this lady's amazing. And I said, oh yeah, she's good. And then we went up to the atrium of the State House. We left my office and went up to the atrium, and there happened to be an Appalachian event going on at that time. She worked a room better than any politician up there could ever do. So it is a pleasure, and I truly, truly look forward to working with Dr. Hasseler, and it's truly an honor for you all to include me in this ceremony as being a Muskingum attendee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Balderson. And now we welcome to the podium the Honorable Bill Johnson, the U.S. Congressman representing Eastern and Southeastern Ohio.
Well, I don't get to follow Troy that often, and now I know why I enjoy that I don't have to do that so often. Troy, thank you for that. And I want to join with him in saying how honored and humbled I am to be here today to participate in this ceremony to welcome Dr. Hasseler as the 21st president of Muskingum University. You know, I had a very similar experience when she and I met just a few short weeks ago. She is full of energy. She talked about how she is connecting, for example, engineering students to not only here at the university when they're here, but also afterwards when they leave the university, connecting them to the energy sector, for example. And I've seen firsthand examples of how that is true. So the evidence of her work outside of her office here at the university is already becoming known. I also know that she has a passion for veterans. We talked about that a little bit. I'm a 26-and-a-half-year veteran of the United States Air Force, and I appreciate so much Muskingum University's and Dr. Hasseler's interest in making sure that our proud warrior heroes, when they come home from the conflict, that they are able to get reacquainted with their communities and get their education underneath their belts and get back to doing the things that they were doing before they went off to fight and defend our freedoms. And I appreciate that so very much. I know Dr. Hasseler likes to hike and explore. I mean, she could not have come to a better part of the country to do that kind of thing. We have some great areas. Salt Fork is not too far from here. A lot of folks, I'm sure many of you in academia know that this region of the country was indeed very, very high on George Washington's list of potential locations for our nation's capital. So when I work in Washington, D.C., I tell people there, you don't know how close you came to living in Marietta and Zanesville, Ohio. And of course, I tell people here, you don't know how close you came to living in Washington, D.C. And of course, they're glad that I'm the one that has to go do that. But there are lots of things here, Dr. Hasseler, to see. We are so glad that you're here. I look forward to working with you. Muskingum University has a great legacy of education, excellence, and providing opportunities for the great next generations of Ohio's leaders. And I just look forward to working with you for, I hope, many years in accomplishing just that. So God bless you. Thank you all for being here today. Dr. Hasseler, congratulations.
Friends, will you pray with me? God of compassion, call to us. Arrive with a full-throated cry. Bellow your mighty resonant voice, a cry we've heard in the tearful whispers of a hungry child asking for bread, a voice heard above the driving cold rain saying, "Come in and be warm," a call heard and answered in your Son, Jesus Christ, who holds this schoolhouse on the hill in his graceful gaze. Keep us firmly planted, rooted in the mystery of your knowing and speaking Spirit. Gentle God of self-sacrificial love, you welcome the stranger, you protect the outcast, you befriend the earth with fierce mercy. We ask now, O God, that you would bless President Hasseler for the days ahead. Help Dr. Hasseler to lead us in the way of faith, learning, and service. Send us here, assembled as Muskies, to become compassionate citizens of planet Earth. For we ask all of these things in your name, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. And friends, now will you please stand and join together in hymn number 1, Earth and All Stars, led by Muskingum University Wind Ensemble and Concert Choir.
may be seated. What a wonderful opportunity to sing a hymn together with the wind ensemble and the concert choir. Thank you so much. In the time since Dr. Hasseler arrived here on Muskingum's campus, many of us have had the chance to meet her husband, Dr. Ken Hasseler, and to welcome him to campus also. We're delighted that today we have a chance to greet her mother, Mrs. Kay Schneider. Good to have you with us. Daughter Caitlin and son John, and other family members and special guests from the Hasseler family. But I want you now to join me in welcoming Caitlin Hasseler and John Hasseler to the podium. They're going to share the scripture readings for today.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Hasseler, and I have the privilege of calling Dr. Hasseler Mom. So John and I will be reading 3 scripture passages that have particular meaning to our mother. But first, I just want to say that this is a really special day for the both of us. We've been looking forward to this moment for a really long time. It's hard to put into words what an honor and joy it is to be here and to celebrate our mother. My mother has been an absolute luminary presence in our lives, and I've been blessed to see her leadership flourish over the past 3 decades. And let me tell you, you've gotten one of the best. She has endless gifts and leadership skills that I could expound upon, and I can do that at the reception and dinner and any time afterwards. But all I'll say right now is that her secret sauce of grace and grit is something that has inspired me and left me in awe my entire life. So now for the passages. First from Micah, chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. The prophet speaks, "With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before God with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? God has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God." The second passage comes from Matthew's Gospel, in which Jesus is quoting a very well-known passage from the Torah. When the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. "Teacher, which commandment in the law is the greatest?" Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets."
As you'll be able to tell shortly, Caitlin is the gifted orator amongst the siblings. I will be reading from the prophet Isaiah, book 40, verses 25 to 31. "To whom then will you compare me? Or who is my equal, says the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high and see. Who created these? God, who brings out their host and numbers them, calling them all by name. Because God is great in strength, mighty in power, not one is missing. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my right is disregarded by my God? Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. God does not faint or grow weary. God's understanding is unsearchable. God gives power to the faint and strengthens the powerless. Even youths will faint and be weary, and the young will fall exhausted. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Word of God, word of life. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Caitlin and John, for sharing that scripture and your reflections with us. Now, before joining us here at Muskingum, Dr. Hasseler served as the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs at Augustana University in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We had the occasion then to speak with Rob Oliver, Augustana's president, about Dr. Hasseler's time at the institution. And I was really impressed by the fact that he also was a very proud mentor. We're delighted that he is today taking a part of this celebration, so please welcome to the podium President Oliver, who is going to offer a prayer of thanksgiving.
First, let me say what a privilege it is for me to be here to celebrate with you all today. It was a real blessing when Sue asked me to participate in this day because she is a person I admire, and I am celebrating her good activity here already and the blessing that she is here, as she was for Augustana. You said that I was a proud mentor. And what that really meant is most of the time I just got out of her way because she is so gifted. I also will tell you that I am grateful to be back in Ohio. I was born in Dayton, Ohio. I have no memories of being here. My father was stationed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base following World War II. And I came along then, and we moved shortly thereafter. So it's good to be home. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we bring our petitions to you today with hearts full of gratitude and ask your special blessing on all who are gathered here for this momentous occasion of the inauguration of Dr. Susan Hasseler as the 21st president of Muskingum University. Every day, we are surrounded by the bounty of your creation. All that we are, all that we know, all that surrounds us are gifts from you. We offer our petition of thankfulness for your wondrous, boundless generosity to us all. By the incredible gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, you provide us grace every day, freeing us from our sinfulness and shortcomings, that we might then strive to be the very best versions of ourselves and offer love and service to our neighbors. We bring this petition of thankfulness for the wonderful and undeserved gift of your unfailing love and forgiveness. Each of our days, your Spirit accompanies us on our journeys to encourage, empower, and embolden us to do what is right to and for each other and our neighbors, to extend your love wherever we may go. We offer this petition of thankfulness for your sustaining Spirit living within us. This day, we particularly celebrate the special calling that you give to each of us to employ our gifts and spend ourselves in mission and service wherever we are needed. We especially celebrate the unique and special giftedness of President Sue Hasseler, who has been called to lead and serve the community united in mission here at Muskingum. And so we offer our petition of gratitude for this special place. Ask for your guiding presence and blessing to be upon students, faculty, staff, alumni, and friends of Muskingum University, and especially upon President Hasseler. Give her strength and courage. Give her humility and love. Give her wit and wisdom to do her best in all the days ahead. And give each of us your love and support as we each do our part in supporting Sue in her work. And so, with thankful hearts, we praise you, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, and together join our voices in saying, Amen.
Thank you, musicians. Now, please join me in welcoming to the podium Dr. Ken Hasseler, our president's spouse, who's going to share an inspirational reading with us.
Today is a unique gift and a rare opportunity. A moment where I am able to provide all of you with a glimpse into the life of one of the best leaders I've ever known. As President Hasseler's partner for 41 years, I have watched, listened, conversed, and marveled at two characteristics she has consistently embodied: compassion and curiosity. The Hebrew prophets and the words of Jesus from Matthew's Gospel offer us a way of understanding compassion that is courageous and convicted. Their words remind us that this characteristic is hard-won. It requires discipline, and it often emerges in our lives in times of hardship and conflict. Compassion is a real moment in our life. Compassion is not an abstract idea. It is a decision. Compassion often comes into focus against the backdrop of suffering. During the appalling moral reality of apartheid in South Africa, Nelson Mandela said, "Our compassion binds us the one to the other, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future." Mandela wisely points out that compassion is power when offered to those who suffer. Sue understands this. As a result, she spent a number of years working with educational leaders in South Africa. As Mandela pointed out, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Sue believes in the power of education to bring about justice and equity in that country and in our own. It was an experience that transformed her life as well. Sue's global compassion emerged from a robust understanding of compassion in the classroom. In her early years as a classroom teacher, I heard her say, "I see students on the margins and figure out a way to stretch the margins to include everyone." And she has. The margins Sue stretched once included a young student named Mary. Mary, bullied and mocked by her classmates, lived on the margins of classroom learning. Mary, her hair not quite right. Mary, whose clothes did not come from the best store in town. They came from home. Mary, the one who acted differently. Mary, the one not socially adept. Mary, the one who struggled academically. Mary, a target for our worst instincts. Mary needed more than an IEP. Mary needed compassion. Sue recognized this and she never forgot it. This recognition for her became a practice, a sustained habit. Sue worked tirelessly to create a caring community in the classroom for Mary. The students rallied around Mary with a compassion that has followed Mary from that classroom all the way to this moment. Sue never forgot or forgets the power of that experience. President Hasseler's compassion is rooted in deep conviction. The conviction that nothing you do for children is ever wasted. Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations, said, "History will judge us by the difference we make in the everyday lives of children, and that there can be no keener revelation of society's soul than the way in which it treats its children." As an educator, she understands that teaching and learning requires one to bring light into darkness, to shine light on inappropriate and hurtful behavior, to provide models of affirming and growth-producing behaviors. This has been her steady theme in all her educational roles, whether she was working on the south side of Chicago, in a rural community in Iowa, as a college professor, or as an institutional leader. However, Sue also delights in beauty and sees the wonder in all of God's creation. She loves music and art and architecture. She is fascinated by spaces, both natural and man-made, and by people, how they think, why they do the things they do, how they find their calling. And Sue finds rejuvenation and exploration. Nothing makes her happier than finding an unusual or hidden place of beauty, discovering an unexpected path, engaging with a new idea. Her curiosity drives, restores, and energizes her. She shares that energy with those around her, as many of you have probably already discovered personally. Courageous compassion and curiosity, a powerful paradox, but one that Sue embraces and embodies, and a powerful paradox embodied in the following excerpts from Maya Angelou's poem, A Brave and Startling Truth, a poem by Maya Angelou. We, this people on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space, past aloof stars, across the way of indifferent suns, to the destination where all the signs tell us it is possible and imperative that we learn. A brave and startling truth. And when we come to it, to the day of peacemaking, when we release our fingers from fists of hostility and allow the pure air to cool our palms. When we come to it, then we will confess that not the pyramids with their stones set in mysterious perfection, nor the gardens of Babylon hanging as eternal beauty in our collective memory, nor the Grand Canyon kindled into delicious color by western sunsets, nor the Danube flowing its blue soul into Europe, nor the sacred peak of Mount Fuji stretching to the rising sun, neither Father Amazon nor Mother Mississippi, who without favor nurture all creatures in the depths and on the shores. These are not the only wonders in the world. When we come to it, we, this people on this minuscule, kithless globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, the dagger, yet who petition in the dark for tokens of peace, we, this people on this mote of matter, in whose mouths abide cankerous words which challenge our very existence, yet out of those same mouths come songs of such exquisite sweetness that the heart falters in its labor and the body is quieted with awe. We, this people on this small drifting planet whose hands can strike with such abandon that in the twinkling life is sapped from the living, yet those same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness that the haughty neck is happy to bow, the proud back is glad to bend. Out of such chaos, of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils or divines. When we come to it, we, this people on this wayward floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to passion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. President Hasseler, Sue, deep is the gratitude and abundant is the joy that I feel in this moment for our shared life together. I know from firsthand experience that Muskingum University is truly blessed to have called you as its 21st president. And to the faculty and staff and the students of Muskingum University, it is my deep, deep honor to commend to you an educational entrepreneur, a visionary leader that is fulfilling her calling with courageous compassion and endless curiosity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ken Hasseler, for the message and for being a part of the Muskingum community. 2 years ago, this spring, when Dr. Steele announced her intention to retire, we began the important task of identifying the individual who would become our 21st president. That's when I picked up the phone and I called Trustee Bob Payton, and I said, Bob, I've got an opportunity for you. And thankfully, after coming back with a typical Bobism, he said, be glad to do it, and assembled a team called a search committee. And I want to tell you, they put a great amount of personal effort and time and dedication into a task that they felt deeply about. So now please welcome to the podium Mr. Bob Payton, Search Committee Chair, Ms. Danny Crown, Search Committee Member, and Muskingum Admission Counselor.
Good afternoon. You know, every time I come back on this campus, I find myself filled with a deep and abiding sense of gratitude. And there's three aspects of that I would share with you this afternoon. First, I am grateful to have been a graduate and am a graduate of the institution that prepared me better than I could possibly have imagined to face the world outside. My second gratitude is that I have been so honored and privileged to serve as a trustee of my alma mater. And the third sense of gratitude comes from the exercise that we have just done to search for a new leader for Muskingum University following the extraordinary contributions of Dr. Ann Steele. And I'm so proud to have shared this challenge with such an enormously talented and trusted and respected group of people. The first task in a search committee is to put together those people who can represent their constituencies. Everybody from students to faculty, staff, to administration, to coaches, to alums, and to the local community, New Concord and the region. They have to be prized by their colleagues. They have to be trusted by them. They have to see them as their representative that's going to help carry the needs of that constituency into this search. And I do not want to go without mentioning each and every one of them. From the faculty, Dr. Shayla Ellenberger, Dr. Steve Kokovich, Dr. Dinah Meyer, Dr. Rick Nutt, Dr. Stefan Van Horn. From the staff, Janet Heater-Bass. From the trustees, Pat Wilson, Jim Gray, Tom McCalmont, Dan Plumley, Kim Gage Rothermill. And we had a blessing in the sense that we had a student representative in Danny Crown, who was not only a graduate in 15, she was president of the Student Senate as well, and she's now an admission counselor at Muskingum. We then searched for a search consulting firm that would help us find our next leader. We found Dr. Sandra Tracy from AGB Search, who helped guide us through the process. And we were staffed extraordinarily well by Ms. Andra Stansel from the President's Office, who did all the logistics that you always do when you're running in a tremendously long process. The process is arduous. It's rigorous. We got resumes, and candidates come from advertising, personal contacts, the work of the recruiter, and even self-nominations. We saw dozens of resumes, some as long as 50 pages long. Those were from the academic side of the nominees. We had sitting presidents apply of educational institutions. Each one of these resumes went through a very rigid ranking process based against the characteristics that we needed in our next leader. We narrowed the list of those we wanted to interview personally. Every one of those interviews was crafted in advance by very specific questions, targeting their background and experience, their values, their presence, their communication skills. When we were done with that, we finally narrowed it to our finalists. They were brought to campus with extensive interviews with faculty, staff, administrators, students, coaches, community, and regional leaders. And when that was done, we recorded an extraordinary amount of feedback in great depth. And we went into executive session. And the task was, could we nominate to the Board of Trustees the person that should lead us into the future? And I will tell you that it was a unanimous recommendation by the search committee that Dr. Susan Hasseler be the next president of Muskingum. That recommendation was carried forward to the trustees, and they in turn voted unanimously to accept that recommendation and to offer the presidency of Muskingum University to Dr. Susan Hasseler, and then we turned it over to our ultimate leader, Hal Burlingame, to see if he and Sue could work out a deal, which they apparently did, because she's here. That's enough about the process. One of the most important members of our committee was Danny Crown, because she represented the ultimate customer, the student who comes here. And it is a great pleasure to bring her forward to talk to you and to introduce her for her own very special remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Crown.
Good afternoon. I would once again like to welcome all of you as students, staff, faculty, administrators, Board of Trustees, community members, friends of the university, and distinguished guests to this wonderful inauguration and celebration of Dr. Susan Hasseler. I have been fortunate enough to be a member of the Muskingum community for almost 6 years now. In those years, I have had various roles. I started my time here as a nervous 18-year-old, not sure this was my place, quickly learned it definitely was, graduated and achieved alumnus status, and just 7 months after that day, I received my dream job and title of admission counselor. I was awarded the incredible privilege to serve as a member of the search committee in order to find our 21st president. What a challenging and rewarding experience those several months truly were. Thanks to this opportunity, I was able to meet Dr. Hasseler early in January 2016, just 3 days after returning to campus to begin my new job. My first impression of Dr. Hasseler went something like this. She walked into a freezing cold hotel conference room with an infectious and confident smile, prepared to greet the committee. When Dr. Hasseler came to me, I reached out my hand, ready to introduce myself. But before I could speak, she said, "Oh, and you must be Danny. I hear you were quite the busy student during your time at Muskingum. And how have your first couple of days back on campus been?" I hope I responded accurately to Dr. Hasseler's questions, but in that moment, I was so impressed that somehow she knew who I was. I'm not sure I have had the chance to express to you, Dr. Hasseler, the impact I felt from our very first meeting. After introductions, the committee began our lightning round of questions, and let me tell you, Dr. Hasseler never missed a beat. This is just one example of many experiences that I, and I'm sure many of you, have had when interacting with Dr. Hasseler. Whether I am listening to Dr. Hasseler greet guests at an admission event, having a conversation with her in the hallway of Montgomery, hearing stories about discussions current students have had with the president, and especially during ceremonial moments like this, I am inspired and full of pride thinking about the amazing places Dr. Hasseler will take our adored university. Dr. Hasseler is a consummate educator. She describes herself as a lifelong learner who is passionate about the liberal arts and the challenge for everyone to engage, explore, and expand their horizons. Over the last several months, Dr. Hasseler has fully embraced Muskingum, New Concord, and our beloved color magenta. From our initial conversation, I knew Dr. Hasseler embodied what it truly means to be a Muskie. She has continued to affirm her passion for experiential learning, co-curricular involvement for our students, engagement and service, and the university's commitment to educate the whole person for the whole world. It did not take long for our campus community to see the energy and passion Dr. Hasseler has brought and continues to bring to Muskingum. She has truly hit the ground running and instilled confidence in all of us that Muskingum's rich history and traditions will live on. I believe you can all agree Muskingum University is in wonderful hands to lead us into the future. As a person who is deeply rooted to this campus and the mission of Muskingum University, I cannot wait to see all the remarkable accomplishments that will be in the years to come. Now, without further ado, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you Muskingum University's 21st president, Dr. Susan S. Hasseler.
Thank you so much, and you may be seated. So you can tell from Bob and Danny and their words actually why I was drawn to this place right from the beginning. Thank you for that warm introduction. And I want to say a special thanks right now to Chaplain Will Mullins, to my dear friend, President Rob Oliver, to Dr. Stephan Van Horn and Luke Lloyd and Pastor Ann Wyrick, Senator Balderson, Congressman Johnson, and to my very special family members. My helpmeet and true partner, Ken, and wonderful children, John and Caitlin, for your participation in this very special ceremony. Having you be a part of this important event in my life means the world to me. And Chairman Burlingame, Dr. Steele, Dr. Speck, I am truly honored by your presence here and for the strong leadership you have and continue to provide Muskingum. And Zeb, David, Harsha, all the musicians who have and will be continuing to contribute to the beauty of this celebration. I think you already know how much I love you, so thank you. And to all of you who are participating as patient audience, I might say, trustees, faculty, staff, students, alumni, emeriti, and friends of the university, community leaders and neighbors, delegates from other institutions of higher education, learned societies and positions of leadership in state and national government, I am so pleased that you could join us in celebrating Muskingum University here today. To my inauguration committee, Mark, Andrea, Josh, Amanda, Susan, Annette, Penny, Paul, and Kevin, we have had an amazing week of celebration, due in large part to your creativity, persistence, patience, and attention to a myriad of details. Thank you, thank you. We are almost there. And last, but certainly not least, to my friends and family members, to Mallory, my daughter-in-love, to Bill and Betty, to Linda, to Peter, and also to friends who have come, John and Judy, Joanne and John, Jen, Lori, and especially to my mother, Catherine Weiminga Schneider, who has always been and will continue to be my true inspiration. Thank you for being here on this very special day. Thank you. So it is a true joy for me to be part of this Muskingum community. I am honored and humbled by the trust and confidence you have placed in me. And I'm eager to make this public covenant with you today to serve and lead this wonderful, wonderful place. As a new president, I've had this rare opportunity to meet and to be welcomed by so many people here on campus in our region and across the country. People often ask me, what brought you to Muskingum? Or on occasion, why in the world would you want to be a university president right now? And my response is that this is my calling, to lead and serve a university community as president. I am called at this time to be in this place, this remarkable community that is Muskingum. The Presbyterian theologian Frederick Buechner captured the concept of calling wonderfully when he says the place where you are called is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. The deep gladness that Buechner describes goes beyond personal fulfillment. It's embodied in our connections with others in a world which is hungry for that connection. With such simple elegance, Buechner says that we find our calling, our purpose, and our true meaning in life by engaging with and serving others in the world. And although I'm appropriately quoting a Presbyterian theologian, the concept of finding our purpose in service to others spans multiple faith traditions, including the words from the Torah that John and Caitlin read earlier. So as I've begun to get to know the people of this extraordinary community, our alumni and current students, our faculty and staff, and as I have begun to more fully explore the mission and values of Muskingum University, I have been struck by the many ways in which we embrace our calling to engage and serve, to create and explore. This is clearly a learning community that provides students with the foundation, the tools, and the confidence They need to discover the world around them and even the world beyond them, to take risks and overcome challenges, to be fearless and to soar with such a powerful impact on the world. You, our current students, are already impacting the world. You are fearlessly creating and connecting. You lead organizations and teams on campus. You serve the community. You start your own businesses. You share your musical, dramatic, artistic, and athletic talents with the entire region and beyond. You run a radio and TV station, and you contribute new answers to important questions and new knowledge for all of us to learn from. And this was so evident in our scholarship showcase that we enjoyed this week. Another example of the wonderful work that our students and faculty do here. You, our faculty and our staff, are constantly impacting the world as you teach and guide our students every day. You serve our students in and out of the classroom. You share your time and talents with the community. You expand on and create new knowledge in your disciplines. You make music and art. And you are leaders in national organizations, bringing distinction to your profession and to this university, and again, serving with powerful impact. And our incredible alumni, our long magenta line, many of whom are here today, you are impacting the world. You have clearly found your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger as you serve in so many interesting ways. There are so many stories I could share about the alumni I have met this year. Powerful stories of risk-taking, of going to unknown places, of unusual creativity, and always of service. In alternative energy sources, in the development of new technologies and new enterprises, in the worlds of medicine and of finance, in national and international broadcasting, in public leadership, in the arts. The list could go on and on. But in the past few months, the lives of two alumni, John and Annie Glenn, have been very much on our minds and in our hearts. And I believe the story of John and Annie exemplifies in so many ways the power of living one's calling. Their calling was to the common good, fulfilled through their deep commitment to duty and public service, and also to one another. Many of you participated in our very moving call to service ceremony here last December, which commemorated the 75th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, a seminal day in the lives of John and Annie Glenn and many other members of the Muskingum community. His experiences in World War II prepared John for another bold leap of faith when he orbited the Earth in Friendship 7 55 years ago, and for still another leap of faith back into space nearly 20 years ago on the orbiter Discovery, two brave missions which bookended an amazing career in public service. John and Annie were clearly people of courage and confidence and action, but perhaps most importantly, they both were and are people who engaged very thoughtfully with others. The world now knows the story of how in an era of racial segregation and widespread gender discrimination, John fearlessly placed his confidence in the hands of the hidden figures, the African-American female NASA mathematicians who provided essential direction to the emerging space program. Dr. Scott Parazynski reminded us earlier this week of the courage, humility, and good humor John displayed when he became the oldest person to travel into space in 1998. We have been reminded by multiple other stories that the very root of John and Annie Glenn's extraordinary impact was their fearlessness in connecting with others as they found their deep gladness in a shared commitment to duty, to public service, and to the common good. And this commitment to engage with and serve others is at the heart of finding one's calling, and it's at the very essence of Muskingum University's identity and purpose. Muskingum's own rich institutional history is one of reaching out with creativity and boldness. The infinite impact of our long magenta line upon the world has its roots in the bold steps taken by our founders and by the distinguished individuals who have led Muskingum over time. In 1837, our Presbyterian founders took a bold step when they established the college on the hill. And all of us here know well that we are a college on hills, a frontier classical college to educate the sons of the farming village of New Concord. But in 1854, Muskingum began to admit women on an equal basis with men, another bold step at that time in society's history. Since the 1800s and continuing today, international students from China, India, Japan, and many countries across the globe have made the courageous decision to travel far from home to study here in New Concord, sharing their traditions and perspectives and enriching the fabric of this community in so very many ways. For close to 6 decades, 2 members of the Montgomery family, Reverend John Knox Montgomery and Dr. Robert N. Montgomery, provided visionary leadership to Muskingum during a time of significant change and upheaval in higher education. And in the 1990s, Dr. Sam Speck positioned Muskingum on the national stage of higher education through bold and innovative pricing strategies and an amazing vision for the future. And beginning in 2000, Dr. Ann C. Steele led an era of institutional entrepreneurship, developing innovative academic programs and building what I call our Circle of Beauty, a state-of-the-art library and lovely buildings designed to serve our programs in art, music, theater, and communications, as well as a wonderful space for our students to gather and to meet together. I am so honored to have been chosen to build upon this incredible foundation established by Muskingum's long line of distinguished leadership. Each one of Muskingum's leaders has been committed to educating the whole person for the whole world, to developing our students intellectually, spiritually, socially, physically, and to build their capacity to create, explore, engage, connect with, and transform the world, preparing our students and ourselves for a lifetime of making those deep and meaningful connections demands much of us. It demands that we learn from and with people who come from different locations and cultures, believe in different things, have different experiences. It demands that we learn about new parts of the world and topics we did not understand before. It demands that we participate in experiences that push us out of our comfort zones and into new ways of thinking and living. It demands that we explore things that intrigue or intimidate or even frighten us. Engaging with each other in the world demands that we are open, welcoming, humble, and full of care in our interactions with people and with nature. It demands that we listen carefully for the voices of those who are oppressed and marginalized, who are sick and who are hurting, who are living without basic rights and resources, as well as those who are celebrating and thriving and identifying new sources of beauty and wonder and healing. There are so many opportunities for students to connect with other students and others in deep and meaningful ways here in every program at Muskingum. Reading, writing, discussing new ideas, seeking out students, faculty, and staff who can challenge you and make you think about your assumptions. Laughing, playing, hanging out, serving in internships, clinicals, field placements, conducting research, engaging in study abroad, community service, the visual and performing arts, athletics, campus leadership, and worship. These experiences are continually preparing us to find that match between our deep gladness and the world's deep hunger, and helping us to recognize that discovering our calling is a lifelong process, continuing long after we leave here. For our students, these experiences are shaped by every person with whom they engage, whether teacher, coach, counselor, conductor, mentor, or friend, and by every place in which they engage, whether in the classroom, on the field, in a residence, or in the community. It takes the whole community to educate the whole learner for the whole world. This Muskingum University community, as it has done throughout its history, takes to heart that promise to our students. And as we honor our university's past and we look forward to our dynamic future, we can envision the ways in which the student experience will continue to evolve, just as the world and its deep hungers will continue to evolve. And so, as we move forward together, we will continue to provide new experiences for our students. We will develop new connections and new ways of encouraging them to engage with one another and the world, expanding and extending experiential learning of all types, hands-on original research and creative activities, internships, community service, study abroad, campus leadership. We will build our presence and partnerships in the region and beyond, seeking new opportunities for our students, faculty, and staff to learn with and from the communities that surround us. We will expand our focus on relevance and responsiveness, continuing to hone our culture of entrepreneurial thinking and innovative educational programs that prepare our students for an ever-changing future. We will expand our investment in student success, providing a seamless system of academic and career support from the very first day our future alums step onto our campus to the day they cross the graduation platform. We will continue to develop this campus, providing academic, residential, athletic, and recreational spaces that meet the needs of today's and tomorrow's learners. We will continually seek, reach out to, and welcome new audiences of learners, whether traditional undergraduates or adult learners, learners from close by or from across the world. We will also connect our students with additional spaces and places, whether virtually or in person, where they can further explore their gifts and their calling. And we will continue to invest in the people who bring this living and learning community to life every day, recognizing that every person on our campus is an educator, and that our students learn from everyone with whom they engage on these hills, online, and out in the world. We will encourage our students to have the courage to take risks, to address challenges, to grapple with complex problems and ideas, to embrace ambiguity, to persist in the face of disappointment, to seek justice, and to soar. Each of us in this room has been called to Muskingum. We have been called to build on our strong foundation, to celebrate our community, to lead and serve with courage, and to continue to help every learner here discover their own deep gladness and the world's deep hunger so that they may create their own profound impact on the world. We have only just begun to write the next chapter in Muskingum's story, and in the stories our students and our alumni will continue to write on the world. I so look forward to writing the next chapter together with you. Onward, forward, and thank you. And now if you would actually remain standing and join me in the singing of God Who Stretched the Spangled Heavens. And this is printed in your program.
Well, I'll tell you from where I stand, it's really a lot of fun to look out at this audience and see our faculty in all of their academic regalia. And really that's a reminder of our own distinguished scholarship, which brought them to Muskingum to share their wisdom and to guide our students. And what a wonderful group of students we have here today, musicians in the choir, in the wind ensemble, and those in the audience. I'm so glad that so many of our students are experiencing this today. Now, to represent our faculty and our students by sharing their thoughts for a new president, I'd like you to welcome to the podium now Professor Stefan Van Horn, who is the faculty executive secretary, and he was on the search committee, as you heard, and Mr. Luke Lloyd of the class of 2019, who's president of the Student Senate.
Thank you, Hal. Colleagues on the faculty, students, members of the Board of Trustees, honored guests, Muskingum University community, and Madam President. Dr. Hasseler, you were introduced to this community a little more than a year ago. Since that day, you have met with all of the constituent groups that make up our university community. You met with faculty and students over the summer. You met with each of the sports teams as they began their seasons. You greeted our first-year students at opening convocation. You hosted a 100-day celebration for all on the quad. And throughout the year, you have continued to attend many, many student and faculty events and activities. You have impressed us with your energy, openness, and ability to inspire us. You have reached out to the local and regional communities and have gotten to know this part of southeastern Ohio. As the fall semester began, you challenged the faculty and staff to begin a process that has evolved into our strategic planning initiative. You have continued to impress us with your ongoing willingness to engage in discussion, to listen to ideas, and to identify and evaluate new opportunities to build on our strengths as a university. I hope that we have impressed you as much as you have impressed us. I hope that your aspirations and plans to move Muskingum University forward have grown, and that you now believe that even more is possible, because you recognize the quality and dedication of the faculty and staff. You lead a faculty that are not only excellent in the classroom and laboratory, but willingly meet and support students at music, theater, athletic, and special events. One attribute that I feel makes Muskingum so special is that this community understands that to thrive today, it takes everybody working together for the good of the university. You are dedicated to enabling others to have an impact, and your impact is evident as you bring everyone together. Your energy and your leadership have focused our determination to work together to have Muskingum grow and thrive. I've heard it said many times that we have the best story that nobody knows. I believe that with your vision for Muskingum University, that this will no longer be true, and that we and our story will be known to a much wider audience. We wish you the best from this day forward as your and our futures are intertwined. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Luke Lloyd, and I'm a sophomore here at Muskingum. I'm honored to represent all students as president of the Student Senate and to address this audience of distinguished guests, trustees, alumni, faculty, staff, and fellow students. On behalf of our student body, congratulations, Dr. Hasseler, on your inauguration as president of Muskingum University. You make it clear to us each day that you are committed to our entire experience as Muskingum students. You recognize that this is a place where we live, work, and play, as well as study. You are very visible on campus and very engaged with campus life. You regularly attend our academic presentations, sports competitions, musical performances, student life activities, and community service events. You reach out and get to know us. You listen to our opinions and questions, and you are interested in our hopes and dreams for our futures and for Muskingum's future. You can often be found talking with us at the bottom of the center, where just a few days ago, you invited us to write our wishes for Muskingum's new era. You set an example of leadership and service for us. You listen to us and bring together different people and groups from our campus and beyond our campus. I have seen firsthand how you translate your beliefs of education into action. You were one of the first customers of our student-founded and student-ran business, Jennings Java, and you continue to support us, connecting us with business leaders in the community and even arranging for us to go to a national conference in New York City. You encourage us to be creative and to try new things. You help us to make a difference in the world while we are students. You don't wait until we graduate and become alumni. To believe in us, you help us now. I'm looking forward to working with you closely over these next few years. We are excited for Muskingum's future under your new leadership. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stefan Van Horn, and our Student Senate President, Lloyd. Now it is my privilege to present a resolution of inauguration from the Muskingum University Board of Trustees. Whereas Dr. Susan S. Hasseler was unanimously appointed by the Muskingum University Board of Trustees to serve as Muskingum University's 21st president, and whereas Dr. Susan S. Hasseler is a highly respected and extraordinarily talented academic leader, teacher, and scholar, and whereas Dr. Susan S. Hasseler holds a steadfast commitment to the Muskingum University mission, which promises to provide and develop the whole person so that our students may positively impact the world around them through the course of their professional and personal endeavors. And whereas Susan S. Hasseler exemplifies Muskingum University's collective values of spirituality, service to others, inclusivity, community engagement, and cross-cultural and experiential learning. And whereas since taking office on July 1 of 2016, Dr. Susan S. Hasseler has immersed herself in engaging with students, faculty, staff, alumni friends, and civic leaders, and is building upon the university's solid foundations in leading Muskingum forward. And whereas it is with the full faith and commitment of the University Board of Trustees and members of the Muskingum University community that we entrust to Dr. Hasseler the legacy of educational excellence created by our founders back in 1837 and extended for the past 180 years by each of the faculty, staff, and distinguished presidents who have served Muskingum. Therefore, be it resolved by the Muskingum University Board of Trustees on this, the 7th day of April, 2017, that Susan S. Hasseler be inaugurated as the 21st president of Muskingum University. And now I'm going to involve you in this process. I'm going to ask all audience members to kind of join in a collective affirmation of the investiture of Dr. Hasseler. I know that maybe you can use another stretch break at this point, so everyone in the audience, please stand if you are able. And just over the next few minutes, I'm going to be inviting several groups to participate in a responsive reading that's printed in your program on page 6. So if you're not there, please turn to page 6. Dr. Hasseler has been chosen to serve as the 21st president of Muskingum University. At this point, I'm prepared to hear the affirmations of our community. And first, I turn to the Board of Trustees. And I say, members of the Board of Trustees, you are charged with the overall leadership and stewardship of Muskingum University. What is your response? We pledge to support Dr. Hasseler as she leads Muskingum University And now I turn to the campus community, members of the faculty, the staff, and student body. You're the heart and soul of our Muskingum University learning community here on this campus, and I ask, what is your response?
We pledge to support Dr. Hasseler as she leads Muskingum University in her role as president.
And now I turn to the guests in our audience, in other words, virtually everybody else. Alumni, emeriti, friends, family members, neighbors, and delegates, you're ambassadors for Muskingum University and for our students as they make their impact on the world. And I ask, what is your response? You may be seated. Thank you. Dr. Hasseler, you have heard the affirmations and the support of all of these elements of our audience, the Board of Trustees, the faculty, the staff, the students, alumni, emeriti, friends, family members, and fellow citizens of our communities. So I ask, are you prepared in the presence of these witnesses gathered here on this campus to accept this affirmation and support and fully commit yourself to this trust and responsibility?
I covenant with Muskingum University and those gathered here to faithfully execute the duties of president. With the gracious help of God and this extraordinary community, I will seek to lead Muskingum University in fulfilling our mission and continuing the legacy of educational excellence which has endured since 1837.
Dr. Hasseler, may you dignify your office with wisdom, leadership, stewardship, devotion, compassion, and welcoming inclusiveness. In so doing, may you fulfill the confidence that we have placed in you. We pledge to you our discerning minds and supporting hands and hearts in our shared commitments to our learning community. And so I now invite Dr. Sam Speck and Dr. Ann Steele to come forward to assist with the presentation of the symbols of office. And we ask that you remain in the audience seated until the singing of the alma mater just a little later. Please come up. Okay, I now turn to Dr. Speck and Dr. Steele, and I ask you to please present Dr. Hasseler with the presidential stole to signify the passing of the mantle and to symbolize this distinguished legacy of presidential leadership upon which Dr. Hasseler will build. Thank you. And now, by virtue of the authority of Muskingum University, and the Board of Trustees, and the affirmation of all of those gathered here, I commit to you, Susan S. Hasseler, the presidency of Muskingum University, and place over your shoulders the presidential medallion, which is a symbol of the high office that you now hold. So now I present to you the 21st President of Muskingum, Susan S. Hasseler.
Please be seated. Don't worry, you'll stand back up in just a moment. This is academic calisthenics. The Latin phrase alma mater means nourishing mother. It's a label we use to describe our colleges and universities because of the learning and growth that takes place here. The phrase also names the primary song or hymn associated with a school, the song that is sung at sporting events, commencement, convocation, inaugurations, and other campus events. There are many songs and hymns that have been written about Muskingum University over the decades. Since sometime in the first half of the 20th century, our official alma mater has been the hymn All Hail Muskingum. The melody comes from a tune written in the early 18th century by the German musician Friedrich Ferdinand Fleming. The text was written in the late 1920s by Muskie alum Thomas Randall Berkshire. Thanks to Muskingum history professor Dr. Bill Kerrigan, we know that Berkshire, originally from Zanesville, Ohio, was an English major who wrote for many campus publications, performed with the Muskie Players, and sang in the Muskingum Choral Society. Our alma mater has 3 stanzas, but like most schools, we typically sing only the first one. Today, however, we will sing both the first and the third stanzas. And if you're not familiar with our alma mater, if you are a guest or friend of the university, we want you to have a chance to sing as well. So before we all sing together, it is my pleasure to introduce senior music education major Mallory Fisher, who will perform the first stanza for us, led with the assistance of Dr. David Turrill and the Muskingum University Wind Ensemble. Don't sing just yet. You'll get a chance in a moment. Here is Miss Fisher.
All hail Muskingum, glorious alma mater, thy loyal children come to do thee honor, life more abundant thou to us hast given. Hail, alma mater, hail.
Now I invite you to please stand as you are able and join Mallory, Dr. Turrill, the Wind Ensemble, and the concert choir in both stanzas 1 and 3 of All Hail Muskingum.
All hail Muskingum, glorious alma mater, thy loyal children come to do thee honor, life more abundant thou to us hast given. Hail, alma mater, hail. All hail Muskingum, glorious alma mater, to thee we pledge our loyal devotion. God's care surround thee through the endless ages. Hail, alma mater, hail.
My friends, the worship and the inauguration are now over. And the service now begins anew. It is time for us to go out into the world to love and serve the Lord, to find where our gifts meet the world's hungers. And we are to serve not only with our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits, but let us serve too with justice and kindness and humility and grit and grace, with our hands open to feel the cool wind of the Spirit. And we need not fear as we go and do this, because we do not go alone. We go with the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit, which was ever and always with us. And let all God's people say, Amen. In just a few moments, the Wind Ensemble will begin to play recessional music. Once the recessional music has been completed, we hope that you will all join us for a reception over in the John Glenn Gym, and our ushers will help direct you to that location. I thank you for being here to help us celebrate today's inaugural convocation. Thank you.